they both already know.
Why?
Well, I got like a bunch of world building I want to dump on the audience, so they're just gonna kind of do that for a while.
Gotcha. So what kind of world building are we talking?
Okay, well, there are 5 types of vampires, right? Southern, Eastern, Spider, Uber, and Juvenile.
Okay.
And juveniles are also called zombie vamps.
Right.
And they can't regenerate like the older vampires, so they look more dead than alive.
Okay, let me write some of this down, maybe.
And they can't process human blood yet, so they feed on small animals.
Small animals.
And vampires typically live separately, but when they are together, they develop a natural hierarchy based on age.
It's kind of a lot of information.
Sunlight's the only thing they're afraid of, and they can't reproduce, but they can turn people.
Jeez.
And vampires have familiars. The more powerful the vampire, the more powerful the familiar.
Okay, this is kind of a lot, but I imagine this is going to be really important to know later.
You know what? Not so much, no.
Well, then why are we...
Man, this movie was ridiculous, and I've seen all these articles about there being a day shift too, and it's just like, oh man, they should just make a night shift and then call it a day, you know, like have day shift and then night shift, and it's like a 2-parter, and that I think that would be good. I don't think it needs to be a 2, 3, 4. I don't think that would make sense, but. That's not necessary, should I say? But you know, it was a good movie. It was very entertaining. But this is where we're at now with like inclusion and diversity, right? Like Netflix can literally sit there and then make their own thing. Right? They're going to make a fresh vampire show. So everyone's like, this is a new take on vampires. And it's like, all right, true. But also, given the climate and the time we're in, it actually makes sense. I don't know if you guys remember that movie Power that Jamie Foxx was in a couple months ago. But, you know, I'm pretty sure we're all getting that superhero fatigue right now because of all this shit Marvel stuff and DC stuff that's going on right now. But Power was pretty much... you know, a fresh take on superheroes. I mean, even though it was technically a different take on Limitless, where they had this pill, you took the pill, and you got superpowers, and Jamie Foxx was like the main character trying to figure out what the fuck was going on, and it's funny because he looks like he does in this one, like it's like, you know, Hawaiian style shirt and just, you know, action and stuff, and you know, I was assuming they were going to make a Power 2 because it would only make sense. There's so many people that have these pills now. I can only imagine shit would be going on. It was kind of like, what was that one? The Chronicle or whatever? The one with the kids? Dang it. But, you know, it was kind of like, I was assuming they were going to make a second one of those. So when I saw the trailer for Day Shift, I was like, what the shit? Like, this looks like Power, but it's not. So it's almost like because they have superhero fatigue going on, they're like, all right, well, we got to not do Power 2, right? Because we don't want to have people thinking about superheroes anymore because, you know, we're kind of done. We got to slowly move away from that somehow and make action films fucking great again. But then you have, you know, things like Blade and you know, vampire, like I think they're redoing an interview with a vampire or something. So there's all this vampire shit that's coming out. So of course people are like already anticipating, you know, what is to come of vampires. So instead they're like, all right, you know, we're going to make our own fresh take on vampires then. We'll make our own vampire film, but with Jamie Foxx. And the only reason I can imagine that they put Jamie Foxx in this is because Spawn is coming out. So they got to keep him in the limelight so that way when Spawn comes out, everyone's like, oh my God, I got to go watch Spawn. Jamie Foxx can obviously hold his own. So I want to see him as Spawn. And for fuck's sake, I hope Spawn actually comes out. I haven't heard anything about it. No one's talked about it at all. So I fucking hope it really actually comes out. But anyway, so Day Shift was a good film in respects to just a fresh take on vampires, but this is what we get when we get inclusion and diversity, because now we got to include multiple types of vampires and include all the diverse styles of vampires. But so Jamie Foxx plays his character Bud, and he is a vampire hunter. He's like a pool cleaner. That's like his front, but he's a vampire hunter and hunts vampires in the world of vampires, apparently. And there's 5 types, right? There's Southern, Eastern, Uber, Spider, and Juvenile, right? And then there's like familiars and all this shit. Like, you know, if you know anything about vampires or lichens or anything like that, you pretty much kind of understand like where this movie could go if they made a series. But, you know, like fucking Mother Android, that didn't get a second. I don't think that's gonna get a part 2, but for fuck's sake, that deserves a part 2 more or less than this shit. I mean, vampires are cool and all, but like, I'm more of a werewolf guy personally, so I digress. But pretty much he's going through, and the whole movie is him, fighting vampires in the world of vampires. And James Franco joins him as this, as his, I forgot what he's considered, but he's like, it turns out there's this agency that hunts vampires on a fucking daily basis, and he ends up, having to go to them to acquire enough money from the fangs that he acquires from these vampires. I mean, it's a lot. They throw like so much at you, but it's funny because the character, like Snoop Dogg's fucking in it, and the guy that plays the head of this agency, like I don't know who he is, but the guy is so great. But he's like this ridiculous mullet white guy with a mullet. It's like Joe Dirt being the head of the organization. So it's just, they throw so much at you, but you just kind of take it in because you're like, man, considering everything we've had recently, this is not, the world building in this isn't bad, and the believability of it isn't bad. It's not too far out there. It's just ridiculously dull enough to be like, wow, this could really be like how Los Angeles could be, because they're like in LA, like in Northridge area. It's crazy. But so the way this film plays out, it's like it's very entertaining. James Franco is in it, and he or not James, his brother Dave Franco is in it, and like, man, his character is pretty funny. But at the same time, it's like, dude, you live in a world of vampires, and you're going to sit here and, like, just work by the book? I mean, for fuck's sake. And you've never been on the field, so you've never had to deal with anything like this. But this shit exists. You know that vampires are out there killing people. You know that people are turning into 5 types of vampires. Like, it's like... It just doesn't make any sense that you would just assume that you need to play by the book all the time when there are literally people out there losing their lives and having their lives ruined by becoming vampires. Like, I just didn't quite get his character. And I mean, shit, for what it's worth, as for 5 vampire types, like, Jesus, we couldn't just have vampires. I mean, I'm pretty sure there's significances between each one, but it's like, what, southern ones are just those are just the basic white vampires, just your basic pearly twilights. Then you had the eastern ones, which I'm assuming were like the Chinese. We had some Chinese vampires. Then we had the uber vampires, which are the ones that usually give other vampires rides, or they just help them out, or I'm assuming they're just very, very, very strong. They're just calling them strong vampires. They call them uber. Then you had spider vampires. I'm not exactly sure what the fuck. I would assume maybe it's like in Blade 2 when they had the reapers and the fucking terrifying gaping mouth. That would be pretty cool. Like, it would suck to become a spider vampire, because then your face would fucking split, and you can't really hide that. And then juvenile, which I guess was like the younger vampires, or just a basic bitch of a vampire. And then the familiars were, the more stronger the vampire, the better the familiars. I mean, it was so ridiculous. Then you had Jamie Foxx's wife, played by Megan Good. Now, Megan Good is very, like, she's fine, but it's like, I love that intro scene of her where she's like on her hands and knees, like fucking cleaning up tile and shit in a workout garments. It's like, nah, girl, like, nah, that's Netflix for you. Like, oh yeah, of course, black women look good when they're doing anything. It doesn't matter if it's like if they're actually working on the house and shit. Like, nah, they looking fabulous. Right? I thought she was working out or like stretching and shit. It's like, oh no, she's like fixing tile or something. But he pretty much has to save up money so her and his daughter don't fly to wherever they're gonna move somewhere. And he's like, oh, you can't take my baby girl. We gotta work things out or whatever. And at the end of the movie, when she finds out that he's like a vampire hunter, I love that she's like, all right, we're just gonna stay here. The world's fucked. So even though we know for a fact that there are vampires here, we'll just stay here because this is where family is. Home is where the heart is, damn it. there's blood pumping through it, so I hope the vampires don't get to him. Peter Stormare is in this, the Das Auto guy, which I thought was hilarious, and I thought that I was really hoping he would have done more, but that's what Snoop Dogg was for. Snoop Dogg played Big J, Big John, and like, man, just, Snoop Dogg, he's been in a few films throughout his career, and I give him a lot of props. But again, all this diversity and inclusion shit of like how black people can't go nowhere and haven't come up from nothing or whatever. I mean, Snoop Dogg is a living embodiment that you can raise from nothing to something. Like, and everyone's out here pretending that like black people can't do nothing, and it's just annoying, And then you have the end of the movie with Snoop Dogg coming out and like smoking a blunt, and you're just like, black representation? Question marks, right? I mean, I don't see how that's any different, but whatever. And I mean, I'm not saying the action scenes weren't great. Like everything was, a lot of the stuff was kind of cool. Like the whole like wire being the killing, killing her at the end, and that showing in the beginning that it's fucking comes in handy, the silver trap wire. But it's just, I don't know. I feel like this is where we're at now with diversity inclusion. Like they're gonna make some good. We have that like Solemn or I forgot what it was called, that other black movie that's coming out soon. That looks really good. But this is where we're at, where we're going to have all these interesting black movies or shows that are like made outside the box, or like made, without diversity and inclusion in mind, because it's not necessary in the context that they're using. But it's like, it's just not going to be fair that we're going to have maybe some good black stories come out, black movies come out, like the fucking, what is it, the Queen King, or I forgot what the first Queen King, or whatever the shit that one is. That looks like it's going to be ridiculous. Because it's like coming out right before Black Panther, and it's like, all right, I see what you guys are doing. They want us to sit. They want white people to sit in front of doors for Black Panther too.
This message is to all our would-be accomplices and white allies. This message is to all the white people who have BLM in their bio. If you really want to prove to black people that you love us and you care about us and you are down for the cause, do not go see that movie opening weekend. You buy your ticket, you give it to a black person or a black family who can't afford to go, and then you go sit at that theater in front of the doors. You make sure that every black person in that theater can enjoy that movie in peace. You make sure that you use your body to block us from anybody who would be coming in that theater to do us harm. That is your job. You can go see it on another weekend. Go see it on the second or third weekend. But the first weekend, that's for us. To do anything other than this is anti-black.
These are the people that you crack smoking leftists have emboldened to just say dumb stuff over and over and over. But that's...
But no one's talking about this fucking movie. Oh man, it's just, what do you expect? What do you expect? I mean, it's just so cringy to just think that this is where we're at. Like, we can't have, like, a lot of people are liking Prey, because it's so new and it's fresh, and it's like, look, I get it, but it's still not good. Can you imagine if Jordan Peele had directed Day Shift instead of Nope? I mean, I think it would have been way fucking cooler and way better, even if you want to keep the comedic aspects in it, even if you want to keep Dave Franco and Jamie Foxx casted as the leads, because I know, Jordan Peele said he wasn't going to cast any more white leads, so I don't know if Dave Franco would have been able to play a decent enough role. Maybe he still would have fucking ended up turning like he does, but I don't want to ruin like the better, the juicier parts, but I don't know. You can't have your cake and eat it too. And that's pretty much what Day Shift does. So it's like, all right, I enjoyed it. It was a fun ride. It was entertaining. But, that's where we're at now in black culture. That it just don't fucking matter. It's just like, all right, whatever. You guys do you. But yeah, so Day Shift, check it out. Oh, also Steve Howey. Shout out to Steve Howey. He is my man. I loved Kevin in Shameless. He was one of the best characters. But him and his brother's fight scene in this or the guy that plays his brother in the movie was fantastic. And I'm not gonna lie, I was expecting one of them to die, and the fact that they didn't, bravo Netflix. Bravo. Because if you would have killed one of them, you would have made that whole action scene a lot more impactful, and you would have made it a lot more feeling would have been put into it if one of them would have died. And I would have probably oh my God, I would have been at the edge of my seat. But more so because I would have just been like, oh no, it would have been great just to see him, Steve Valley, oh my God, brother, bro, no, you bastards. It would have been great, but I'm glad that they didn't die, because it just showed, the Marcelino brothers. That was awesome. But yeah, so I mean, it was definitely giving it like an 8 out of 10, 7 out of 10. You know, a solid 8 out of 10. I really enjoyed it, and I would watch it again with some homies and drink and, you know, smoke to it and just watch it. But, you know, when it comes to just people making their own things, it's like, man, it's not that it can't be done, people, okay? It's not that it can't fucking be done. It just needs to be done. This has been Ghost in the Craig. Thank you so much for watching and tuning in. Like, share, subscribe, and I will catch you guys on the flip side. Peace.